Good morning, a good Friday morning. Hope it's peaceful for you on this Good Friday. I know Easter is on Sunday. It is going to be an anxious Friday for Tiger and Grizzly basketball fans. We will discuss the P.J. Haggerty-Dane Danger saga because in the final segment of the show, as always, Jason Munns, who's broken a bunch of stories this week, including the new lease. He will join us. We will talk with Andy Schiffman, NBA, and the Grizz, and we'll kind of start with that. It was not a good sign yesterday. Ja Morant was not able to practice, and he was visibly limping as he attended the practice. It'll be a game-time decision. Here's a guy who played 50 of the 82 games this year because of various ailments. He averaged 23 points, 7 1/3 assists. You got to have him. If he doesn't play, and I think he's going to, because he basically proclaimed in the locker room after the loss in San Francisco to the Golden State Warriors that he would definitely play. And I believe him, because I think it has to be slightly better with a couple of days of treatment, and you laid off of it yesterday. I think he'll be able to go, and I think that is reflected in the line from Vegas, because they are very keen and aware on all these injuries, and the line usually reflects this. And when the Grizzlies lost to the Golden State Warriors, and when Dallas beat Sacramento, the line was established at 6.5 in favor of the Grizzlies. That line has stayed there. Elijah Seegers, that tells me they think, and I do too, that Ja's going to play tonight.
Yeah, that's my expectation as well. Of course, we don't know in what capacity we will see him in, but as long as he's out there, you got to believe that he's going to give it all that he's got. And even 70 or 80% of Ja Morant is better than most players in the league.
I think so. His game is predicated on explosion. And he came in and he still made plays when the initial injury occurred. And again, we're talking 48 hours here of treatment. So I've got to believe he's going to be able to go, and they'll need him, even though they played Dallas 4 times this year. They were 3-1 against the Mavericks. Both teams have struggled, and neither team, I don't believe, has ever been at full strength when they played. Last time it was an anomaly because that was all benches that were playing each other. That was the last regular season game, and the Grizzlies dispatched of the Mavs, and the Mavs didn't care. But if you look since the trade deadline where both these teams went backwards, of course, Luka was traded away from Dallas to the Lakers, and then Anthony Davis didn't play for a while. But the Mavs were 12-18. That's worse than the Grizzlies, who were 13-17. We've talked about how bad the Grizzlies were after the deadline. The Mavericks were even worse. And both teams are injured. There's obviously no Brandon Clark, and there's no Jalen Wells. But the Mavericks have no Kyrie Irving. That's a big piece. They do, however, have Anthony Davis and Klay Thompson, and those two guys will be critical in this game, along with the Mavericks' length. Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, A.D., P.J. Washington, throw him in there. This is not a gimme game. I do think the Grizzlies are going to win this game, but this is not a gimme game, and I think both teams want it because otherwise you're done for the year. And I've heard speculation everywhere. If the Grizzlies don't win this game, how does that core three feel about each other, about their future, about the possibility that they're good enough to be champions at some point in time altogether? Is Memphis the place for them? Do they need a new start? All those things, I think, Elijah, will creep into their minds. So I think it's critical that they win this game just for all three of them to have another year of playoff experience, because the play-in, it's experience, but not enough. And also to give them confidence that, we still have a future together.
Yeah, I think it's important for them to get that, especially against an Oklahoma City team who you expect to be there for years to come. So you can kind of set a precedent for what a series against them would look like. But yeah, it's important because if they lose this game, you're going to have some really, really tough conversations this offseason where you might have to have some anyway. But especially if they lose this game, we might be looking at some moves that might have to be made.
Yeah, it's. I think no one will expect them to beat Oak City, okay? And look, they lost all 4 games this year, and they lost by 18.8 points per game. No one is expecting them to do that. But there is something about getting that experience. And, there's not that many OKC guys that have playoff experience. So they'll be endeavoring into something new. You never know what really could happen. I'm not saying the Grizzlies will win because I think it's more likely they would get swept than they would win the series. And I think Memphis will probably win a game or so in this series. But they got to get past a Dallas team, and they should beat this Dallas team. Irving would make a big difference in this game. So would Wells, and so would Brandon Clark. The truth is, though, Irving has been on a championship team. He's a superstar player. That is a tangible that Memphis does not own. AD has been a champion. Klay Thompson has been a champion. That plays a role. Everybody will always say the one thing you got to have in the NBA is you have to have had some scar tissue in postseason, and you understand what it's like. It's in your DNA that you've had the playoff experience because it's a different game when you get into late April. We'll see tonight. I kind of feel good that Vegas likes this because I do think Ja will play, and I think this team needs to win for the playoff experience. Yesterday, a traumatic day for Memphis fans. It's not over yet, but P.J. Haggerty entered the portal. Now, he also, as he entered the portal, this will be fun to talk to Munzie. I don't think Jason was able to get a hold of any of the P.J. Haggerty people, but he says he's going to check on NBA status. And then, of course, you're in the portal doesn't mean you're gone. You can still come back, but you're going to have to pay the price. So I think we saw a prophetic reading of this, and I don't believe that Penny believed that when he said this after the NCAAs. He made the statement, you still have to have great relationships with your players. That's important. But in all honesty, it's all about the money. That is the quote from Penny Hardaway after the NCAA loss in Seattle to Colorado State. And that is probably very true of P.J. Haggerty. Can Memphis, if he goes and gets a great offer, which I'm sure he will, can they match it? There was a very interesting article that was written by Matt Norlander of CBS Sports, CBS.com, that talked about all of the money in the NIL that will go to portal players. There are 2,000 players in the portal. And he was talking about how a role player, I think it was 4 years ago when the portal and the NIL really began in earnest, that a role player ended up getting $400,000 and people were aghast. So now, according to his research, a mid-major player that played in every game but averaged less than 10 points would get that same $400,000. Now, I don't know how he got these numbers, but he's saying at Power 4 schools, 4 to 5, basically the starting lineup, will make more money than the best paid assistant coach. How about this? 10 teams will have budgets of $10 million or more. I remember Penny saying he thought a championship team last year would cost $12 million. There are 10 teams that Norlander absolutely talks about names that have more than 10 million. He doesn't say what the ceiling is. Those 10 teams are in order here. Arkansas, this is alphabetical order. Arkansas, BYU, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisville, Michigan, North Carolina, St. John's, and Texas Tech. So St. John's is the only not in a Power 4 with budgets over 10 mil. But they've got a guy that has made St. John's his team. He's a billionaire that I forget how he had a relationship with Rick Pitino, but he's the guy that lured Pitino to St. John's, and he's funding the money, and they're going to have a budget over $10 million. How about this? 14 teams with over $8 million budgets. They are Auburn, UConn, Florida, Houston, Kansas, K-State, Miami, Purdue, Tennessee, Texas, UCLA, USC, Villanova, Virginia. So Virginia's trying to get back in the game. Their budgets are $8 million or more, between 8 and 10. There are 20 that man Norlander, I'm not going to name them all, that are in the $7 to $9 million range. Now, will this continue? And I got a clarification yesterday on what we'll see when the House settlement is finally in the books. And there will be some sort of a cap. You know that the ceiling is $20.5 million of revenue that you can share with your team. The interesting aspect is some will share with the women, but I have not been told that all schools will share with the women. I don't know where Title IX will come into this. I guess we'll see in the long run. But not every school is going to go, okay, you get 10 and a quarter and you get 10 and a quarter. Or 50-50 down the line, because not every school is going to go to $20.5 million on the revenue. Then I also asked about, it's a different term, but it's fair market value. When it comes to NIL, there's going to be a clearinghouse. I said it was $1,000. It's $600. Anything over $600 that is listed as an NIL, name, image, and likeness payment, has to go through, if it's over $600, has to go through an NCAA clearinghouse that has a formula that will determine by your name and by market size what the fair market value of the money it's going to be paid. So in other words, Elijah, if you were to do a commercial for Landers Ford, you would get X amount. If PJ Haggerty did the commercial, it would be X plus because he's got a bigger name and image. If I did the spot, it would be a different price as well. They've got this formula. It looks very weird to me. I haven't seen the formula, but I mean, it seems to me you could get really funky with this thing. But they're going to determine by market and by name what that fair market price is for you to do that spot, which tells me, first off, you only got $20.5 million to begin with, right? That's your ceiling, plus which whatever the NIL is, it can't be you do one spot for $2 million. Now, you're either going to have to work real hard to get it, or you're coming down on the NIL. So, to me, I said this before, these numbers that we're seeing here, these are actual pay for play. There's just no way around it. Say what you want to. It's pay for play. I don't believe we'll see this. Now, maybe in 10 years with inflation and everything else will be different. But I don't believe you're going to get these kind of team budgets after this House settlement is made. But I don't believe that'll begin until next year. So right now, these teams are locked into these budgets, and that's what they are. And Penny said it perfectly. He said, it's all about the money. And that is why P.J. Haggerty, right now, is in the transfer portal. One little anecdote on that, it was pretty well stated by Pete Thamel that Dane Danger was leaving. And I'm under the understanding that he believes that Dane's going to get that extra year. We're going to talk about that with Munzie. There's a new wrinkle to this where maybe Dane Danger will get the extra year of eligibility. And Dane made it very clear yesterday. He's not going anywhere. He wants to come back to Memphis. No one knows where this was leaked. Was it an agent? I don't know. But Danger is staying, and at the moment, Haggerty is not. One last thing. Take a break. We'll be joined by Andy Shipper. We're going to talk about the Grizz and the NBA playoffs. The UFL and their players came to an agreement yesterday. Nobody was talking about this. I actually asked Steve Macy, and he goes, why would they do that? They're getting money to play football. Well, they wanted more, and they wanted better health care. So they got a raise yesterday. It's a $7,000 raise. This year, they will make $62,000 if they play in every game. And next year, they'll make $64,000. It's a 2-year deal. The best part is they get year-round health care, which is absolutely terrific. That is the best part of it. And there will be a process for players to grieve, who think they've been wrong. There's a process to review the grievance. So you got a grievance process and a $5,000 bonus for the winning players on the championship team. So those are some of those things. Showboats play at Michigan tonight. That'll be on Fox. The Michigan team 2-1. Of course, you can hear it on radio on the Flynn Broadcasting Station with Eli Savoy and Russell Copeland on the call. Michigan 2-1. The Boats are 0-3. Here's the thing. The Grizzlies, the Showboats are not the worst team. San Antonio is actually the worst team, and I'll tell you why. They're both 0-3, but the Boats' point differential is -20. The Brahmas' point differential is -44. So they've gotten wiped out in the 3 games. And it's interesting. Their coach, Wade Phillips, much like the Showboats coach, have taken leave of absence for personal reasons. Wade Phillips took this team, I believe, to the championship last year. San Antonio was the winner last year over at Birmingham in an upset. And here they are off to an 0-3 start, and he is exiting. D.C. is the only undefeated team. So really the best team, Michigan, in the Showboats division at 2-1. And the Grizz 0-3. There's already one loss there. If the Boats could win tonight, they're right back in the thick of it. It would be good to have a team that were to win, and maybe the crowds would get a little bit better, because if you're drawing 1,500, 2,000 people to a game, I know they're saying 4,200. That's malarkey. They're not getting that many people. But if you're only drawing that, does the league have to take a look? Now, I still contend to you it's all about television ratings and revenue from sponsors and betting, which is what they're getting. That really makes the UFL go. I don't believe they really care that much about fans in the stands, although you're getting 30,000 in St. Louis, which is why they're going to have the title game. There's some other place that has drawn decently. Maybe it's D.C. I'm not 100% certain of where that is. But even in Arlington, where all the teams are housed, they draw nobody. This is all about television revenue, for sure. But if you can't draw 2,000 people to football games, do they say, maybe we ought to try another market? I guess they would look to see what are the ratings on TV from this particular market. Now, tonight, the game's at 7. You might have a decent first half, but at 8:30, that Grizz game's on TNT. I mean, what do you think the numbers in this market are going to be for that? There might be 100 people watching the Showboats tonight.
Yeah, not very many, I would imagine.
No. That's for sure. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. A reminder, and I was there yesterday. Man, that place looks great. It's pool time, where you can get 24-foot pools starting at under $2,000 installed. You mentioned this ad. You get free installation no matter when you do this, or at least for this month. The liners start at under $300, and all pool accessories like chemicals, they're up to 20% off. The 5 to 6 person hot tubs, those are really something. They start at under $7,000 now, and patio furniture is up to 50% off on select sets. All you got to do is get to I-40 and Whidden Road. Go check it out. You are going to love it. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Miramichi. They are open, both sides. Now, remember, the flooding really took a toll. They would not open the front nine early. They had to make sure it was totally cleared and spruced up so that it would be the beautiful and competitive round of golf that we have all come to expect when we go to Woodstock. 25 minutes, by the way, from my driveway in East Memphis. So it's open now. It opened on Wednesday, both sides. The back nine has been open the whole time. And I'm going to let you know, Monday is now open for you to go. It used to be closed on Monday. Thursdays, yesterday, that's the best day if you're looking for a deal. But every day is a beautiful day and a competitive golf match within yourself. If you end up going to see my good friends at Miramichi, wonderful clubhouse, wonderful food and service in there, and just the most pretty and what could be the sternest test of golf you want, because, they play a lot of the junior national tournaments there, and I think they play some collegiate matches there as well. It can be tough, but if you want to move up like I do, it can be fun. It's always beautiful. It's the true golf experience at Miramichi. We take the break. When we come back, we head to Chicago. Our agent from Priority Sports, Andy Schiffman, talks Grizz and NBA.
Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations, fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer, like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes, like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad. Or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
Sunrise locations, all financing on approved credit.
Kubota Orange Days are here, so come see them Saturday, April 26th for food, fun, and a lot of Kubota Orange. From America's #1 selling compact tractor to zero-turn mowers and personal RTVs, get your perfect match. Now through June 30th, get 0 down, 0%
Weekend's here. Are you prepared? You've got the Grizz and the Boats tonight. NBA playoffs are all over the place. So it's time to make sure you got plenty of spirits to either celebrate or drown your sorrows. It's simple. You head to see my man Eddie Connor at the Spirit Shop, Poplar in St. Nick. That's 4848 Poplar, the little log cabin right down from Clark Tower. You've passed it by a million times. I mean, it's so easy to get to, right? In the heart of the city, and it's so easy to go in and to figure out what you want because the service and the education you get is top-notch. You'll find out why a wine might be very valuable in the future. You'll find out what makes a bourbon rare, what's the latest tequila, how about a flavored vodka. They can explain it all to you. You need an accessory like a rub to put on the rim of a glass for a craft cocktail. They got that. They got the recipes on all the cocktails. Anything that you need that has to do with spirits at the best price with the best selection, you go see Eddie Connor at the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. We catch up with our friend Andy Schiffman every Friday. We talk NBA. We got the Grizz. We got the Mavs tonight. The winner gets OKC. The loser is done for the year. If the Grizzlies were to lose, they would keep their first-round pick. It's a lottery pick. There are some that are hoping Memphis loses. I'm not one of those. I think they need the playoff experience. Give me your sense of what will happen tonight. Good morning, Andy Schiffman.
Morning, Dave. I think the Grizzlies are going to win tonight, especially if his ankle's feeling good. I saw some quotes from Thomas that, if he's feeling good, then he's going to play, and rightfully so. I think you want to be able to put your best five out there and give yourselves a chance to at least get that 8th spot, compete in a playoff series. Now, if you're asking me, from where I'm sitting, what they should do for long-term advantages for the team, I would say lose. Get a lottery pick. I think you can go out there and mine great talent because, look, when you're the Grizzlies, where you are right now with your roster, you are in a really tough spot financially with a lot of big contracts in Ja and Jaren, who potentially may renegotiate and be up for a huge, even bigger payday on his max deal, Desmond Bain, etc. You're right up against the tax apron. You don't want to really go into that territory because then you're even more restricted this summer. And so you're going to be limited with roster spots. You're going to be limited financially to go out there and sign free agents. So how do you go out there outside of a trade and add talent? It is through the draft. And you have a chance, besides their 2 second-round picks, that they're probably not going to be able to hang on to as one of the 15. They're probably going to maybe move those or sign them to a two-way or do a draft and stash because there's going to be a roster crunch. Go out there and get a lottery pick to get a really good player. That's how you got to keep growing. So that's my own opinion. I say that because I don't think they can compete with OKC, even if they get past tonight. And I think you have to weigh what's more advantageous for your organization. Now, again, that's what I think. If you're Zach Kleiman, if you're the front office, that's a hard sell to your fan base to say, we want to go out there and lose because of these reasons. I understand that.
Yeah. What about just getting playoff experience in your DNA? How long or how far does that get you, even if you get roughed up in the next round?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's guys on that roster with playoff experience. This isn't like the Detroit Pistons, let's say, where they've made the playoffs for the first time in a number of years. I would still err. I'm a big draft guy. I'm still erring on the side of trying to go out there and land a lottery pick because then, let's say you get pick 13 or 14 in the lottery. Zach has a propensity to do this on draft night to be pretty active. Maybe there's a way you package another player or two and move up into the top 7 or 8 and get an even bigger talent. That's always a possibility on draft night. You can't really do that if you don't have a lottery pick or a first-round pick to begin with. So it becomes that much more difficult.
How good a draft is this? You're not
getting,
I know you have a chance, but the odds of you getting Cooper Flag are none.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think this draft is deeper than what we saw last year. There's no question. Is it a franchise-changing draft where you can go out there and get a franchise-changing player in year one at picks 4, 5, 6, 7, and beyond? Probably not. But you can definitely go out there and get a very good player, a very good piece. I just look at the Grizzlies roster. Let's just, and this is moving into a different conversation, Dave, but even if they get past tonight, they don't have the lottery pick, they get swept or lose in 5, maybe even 6. Not unforeseen, 6 games to OKC, but they're not going to win. Where do you go as an organization? And again, another topic that I'd like to bring up, we've talked about this when the news came out earlier this season. I still don't think it's an absurd notion that they move Ja Morant. One thing I've seen in the media that, I mean, look, you have to make sure you can keep him long term. Is there a world where you can put a package together and move Ja to Phoenix and get Kevin Durant? He's got, I think, 1 more year left. But again, you have to be able to know that you've got some assurance to keep him long term, because you don't want to make a move like that and get Durant and then have him bounce a summer from now, and then you have nothing to show for it. But again, there's all sorts of things you can do. I don't think it's completely out of the question that they look to move Ja this summer.
You think they could get KD here for Ja?
I would not rule it out.
Wow. I think I would. How old is KD now? Probably you'd make that trade because, look, Ja played 50 games this year. That's it. That's all he's played, and he can't seem to stay healthy. There's a fragility to him. I give him all the credit in the world for trying to play, and he came back in that game where he was clearly hurt and he played. I'll bet you he's going to play tonight, and I'll bet you he has a good game, even though he's not 100%. But look, Kevin's 36. Kevin Durant's 36, and he played 62 games himself. But I think obviously that's an otherworldly talent, and I'm not saying it will happen, but I think there's a conversation to be had if you're Zach Kleiman. If you can maybe go out there and, again, the key is you don't want to make that deal and then have it be you're bringing in Durant on a short-term rental. You can't have that happen. Then it becomes a disaster if you lose him a year from now. Yeah, I still think you want them to play, and then you kind of figure it out. Because I just don't think you're going to get an impact enough play. I mean, if you knew you could get Cooper Flagg, you would take it, right? By the way, is Cooper Flagg is he as impactful a guy coming out as Victor Wembanyama? That's a tough question, but we know what that guy can do.
Right, different profile, but yes, if you talk about when what Zion was when he came out, right? Obviously, Morant was number 2 that year. What Victor is now, Cooper is in that same mold. You didn't see that last year with Ricochet and Sarr at the top of the draft. That's why that draft was down. You got good players. I mean, look at Zach Edey, our guy. Look what he's doing lately. It's been great to watch his evolution, especially with the coaching change. I think he's really found a great coach to get the most out of him and use him in a great way. But none of these guys are stepping in right away and just completely turning your franchise around. Cooper Flagg can do that.
All right. There's another game tonight. I don't understand how Atlanta is actually favored over Miami with the way that Trae Young behaved and played the other night. That looks like a team that doesn't really want to play anymore. And if Miami wins, now they're not the same team without Jimmy Butler, but could they make some noise? Who do you think wins that game tonight?
Look, it's a great point that you brought up. I think Miami wins. I'm also surprised that Atlanta's favored. I just think the odds setters look at the home court advantage, right? But look, I was at the Bulls game 2 nights ago in Chicago here playing the Heat.
Yeah.
The Heat embarrassed Chicago.
They did.
Now, again, they've got a lot of guys on that roster with playoff experience. Chicago does not. There's something to be said for that. But they were everywhere defensively. They were great inside. Tyler Hero couldn't miss a shot in the first quarter. The Heat almost hung up, I think, close to 40 points in the first quarter, causing turnovers. They looked great. Now, obviously, that's hard to duplicate, but I'm not so much of like, well, they're a completely different team without Jimmy Butler. They are a different team for sure, but it's not like even with Jimmy, they were the top 4 team in the East. They're still very good. I think I'm a buyer of the Heat, and I'm a seller of the Hawks because of exactly what you just said. They're kind of on the downward slope right now, and I was talking about this to a player of mine the other day. And he's not my player, Trae Young. You have never seen a team win with Trae Young, an Atlanta Hawks team. They've brought in multiple coaches since he's been there, Lloyd Pierce, Nate McMillan, Quinn Snyder, multiple GMs, and Travis Schlenk, and now Landry Fields. the dynamic there is such that Trey is their franchise player. He's been that since day one. He's basically got their owner in his back pocket. He's extremely close with the owner's son, from what I gather. No one has yet to be able to hold Trey Young accountable. And yes, he can go out there. He's a phenomenal player. He's an elite-level talent. He's a max player. He can go out there and average 10-plus assists. But he doesn't make guys around him better. And for whatever reason, they have never shown a propensity to win and grow with him at the helm. Just hasn't happened. And I think it's very hard to trade him. I think there's
Wait. Since you say that, you're a GM. Would you trade Ja for Trey Young?
No. I think you can win with Ja. I think you could. I don't think you can win with Trey.
Fair enough. Before we get into a couple of these series that I think are interesting, I did want to ask you, because your client, Steve Kerr, made the statement the regular season is too long. When you just said KD played 62 games, 50 played by Ja. Hard to get to the 65, even with the carrot, with the way teams load manage. Should we shorten the regular season? I'm for it, by the way.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't be against it. Most players kind of share that same sentiment. I got guys now that are getting banged up at the end of March, going into the end of the regular season. You see so many players resting the last week of the regular season, preparing for the playoffs. And it's not all just, well, let's just get extended rest to take a day off because it's a throwaway game that doesn't matter. A lot of these guys are truly banged up. And I think that's a product of the preseason going into the regular season. And then, look, half the league is playing beyond the middle of April. There's a number of teams that are playing up to June, right?
Right.
And then you talk about a really, really shortened summer. You talk about those players, international players, that participate with their national teams. A lot of the young players remain around their local markets and their organizations to prepare for Summer League. So it's not like they're just checking out for 3 months, not even picking up a basketball. So I would not be against it.
I don't know, how many games would you play? I guess I'd go to 70. I think I could live with 70. Here's the thing that really bugs me about teams. That last week is not so bad if everything is decided. I know that's not fair to fans either, but, don't buy tickets for those last couple of games. Really, that would show you something. But Memphis, they rested. I think it was in December, okay? They had 2 home games. I want to say they were San Antonio and Atlanta, 2 teams they thought they could beat without key guys, so they rested them. They lost those games. If they had played their guys and won those games, you wouldn't be worried about a play-in.
Absolutely.
Those games matter.
Absolutely it does. That's a great point. And look, San Antonio was a good team all year when they had a healthy Victor Wembanyama. Atlanta was very up and down. But you're exactly right. I mean, this is a really good example this season, Dave. You cannot take any game for granted. A lot of this sentiment around the NBA is, the regular season games don't matter. But look at the tight race we had the last 2-3 games in the regular season in the West beyond like the first 2 or 3 seats. Think about how that shifted in just a matter of 10 days. And so all of a sudden, if you are a Grizzlies team, that maybe you go play your regular rotational players or starters in December, even in one of those games, and you win one, it could very well change the dynamic and change the conversation here in mid-April. So it's a great point.
All right, 2 series I want to zero in on. We just got a couple of minutes. Let's start with Golden State and Houston, because that's really interesting. Since Butler has come on, they don't lose. They got their new big 3 with a lot of playoff and championship experience against a young Houston team, even though they're the 2 seed. How do you think that plays out?
I think that's one of the most intriguing series that I'm excited about. God, that's a really tough one. I'm gonna go with Golden State. I'm gonna call the upset. I mean, Houston's a great team. Sengun, obviously, Jalen Green. They got a lot of nice young pieces. They're one of the quickest, fast-paced teams. But again, like even with an aging Steph Curry, just the way they play, there's something to be said for. Again, I go back to this playoff experience, coaching experience in the playoffs. I know that towards the end of the season, the 2 played each other, and Houston won by 10. I'm just trying to remember if they actually played their, rotational players in that game. I believe they did. But I still, I think Golden State, with that experience, I think they're going to eke it out in 6 or 7 games.
And then the Clippers, many people think if they're healthy now and Kawhi's playing great and they've got pieces, including Harden, with Denver. That's a great series as well. How do you view that one?
I'm going to go with the Clippers. They've been on a complete tear lately, and I think Denver's a really great team. But again, new coach, lack of head coaching in the playoffs. Tyronn Lue has that with the Clippers. They've kind of been my sleeper all year. No one's really talking about the Clippers because when you talk about LA, you're mostly talking about the Lakers and their emergence ever since that trade. But you have to watch out for the Clippers. Really, if you're OKC, you got to watch out for the Clippers.
Since you mentioned Coach, this is it. Last thing, real quick. If the Grizz lose tonight, what's the future of Thomas Isola?
I think that it would behoove the Grizzlies to look in the market for a experienced head coach. I'm not going to sit there and say they wouldn't keep him, but I think they would be doing themselves a disservice if they didn't at least explore who else could be out there.
All right. Well said. As always, we'll know for sure what's going on next Friday. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
That's Andy Schiffman, our agent in Chicago. He's brought to you by another point guard. A point guard for selling your home. You know I'm talking about Sheldon. Sheldon Rosengarten, who is so brilliant. He's always working. He's terrible at golf. He's the first to say he's known as Mr. Three-Putt. His golf game is bad because he devotes so much advertising and advising time to your home. He's got that successful strategic marketing program that involves preparation, presentation, proper pricing. Those are 4 P's to remember. And he advises you how to prepare your home to overcome objections from today's very picky buyers. So by doing research and checking the market around your home, he's able to guide you as to pricing, which, of course, is strictly your choice, but it's going to end up being the real reason a person sells or sits at home. So if you know someone is thinking of selling, Sheldon advises you talk to 2 or 3 real estate brokers. Just make sure he's one of them. No brag, just fact. He gets the job done. He's Sheldon at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. We take a quick break. We head south of the border, and we talk to Munzie, Jason Munz, on the Tigers and P.J. Haggerty. That comes your way in just a minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey, everybody, want to know where all the Chevys are? Where all the deals are? Right here in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevrolet. Save thousands on your new Silverado truck. Financing as low as 2.9 for 72 months. A new 2500 HD has financing as low as 3.9 and no payments for 90 days. Nothing beats having no payments most of the summer. Absolutely nothing. You could take an extra vacation, and your good credit deserves it. If you're law enforcement, first responder, healthcare, military, education, recent grad, you get an extra $500 bonus. And All-Star has all the late model pre-owns you're looking for. Camaro, Equinox, Tahoe, Suburban, and tons of Silverados. And if you have any vehicle you want to sell, bring it here to All-Star Chevy in Olive Branch and get the most money for it today. Everyone here at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch asked me to wish you and your family a very happy Easter month. So together, let's drive, or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five-Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you. Corky's Barbecue. Cooking it up. Down home way. Hit me smoke flavor like the good old days.
Hey y'all, Jimmy Stovall here with Corky's Barbecue.
What a busy week it has been for our friend Jason Munz, award-winning commercial appeal beat writer on the the Tigers beat. From the new lease deal with the Grizz to P.J. Haggerty and Dane Danger to those that have signed, like new ones like Zach Davis, to those who are visiting. Crazy stuff for sure. It's never a dull moment with Munzie. Let's start with P.J. Haggerty. He entered the portal. Does that mean in your mind, Mr. Munz, that P.J. is gone from the Tiger program?
Gone by the textbook definition? No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that it makes it less likely that whatever the odds were before he entered the portal, they're whatever the odds were that he might stay at Memphis for another season, those odds are now worse. Just because, now not that he wasn't fielding offers before going in the portal, but now it's all going to be above board. And it could get pretty hot and heavy for him at this point now that he's in the portal. But no, from a textbook, from a dictionary definition, no, it does not mean that he is gone.
You think it's just too much money? He said something about the NBA. I don't believe he's going to be a draft pick in the NBA this year. I really don't.
No.
This is just to angle himself for more money from a Power 4 school?
Yeah, well, or from Memphis, one or the other. It's honestly, anybody who's in his shoes, the way things are now, especially with the astronomical dollar amounts that are being thrown at people like him. Here's the thing. J.T. Toppin, earlier this week, who, just like P.J. Haggerty, is a consensus second-team All-American. He reportedly got $4 million to stay at Texas Tech for another season.
Wow.
So that's the kind, that's a guy who was, like Haggerty, a consensus second-team All-American. So you would imagine that's probably what it would take for P.J. Haggerty to stay at Memphis. That's what the market dictates.
And what do you think Memphis's budget's going to be? And I bring that up because Matt Norlander, he put out a nice story. There are 10 schools that he knows of that have $10 or more million budgets. Another 14 at $8 million budgets. There are 20 in the $7 to $9 million range. Where do you think Memphis is going to fit in with this?
Based on conversations that I have had very recently, I believe that Memphis is in that second echelon.
In the $8 million?
Yes.
Okay. But that would mean half
now,
of your money would go to P.J. Haggerty, one guy.
That's correct. If that's the number, if it turns out that $4 million is what it ultimately takes to keep him. I'm not saying that that's what it would take. I'm just saying that, the standard has been set, reportedly, for consensus second-team All-Americans who are going back to the same school that they played at this past season. That's kind of how, free market capitalism, all that stuff works, is once the bar has been set for basically the exact same thing, then that's, you sort of put two and two together, and that's probably what he could fairly command. He could also probably make more. If he goes somewhere with more money than Memphis, he could probably make more. But, again, I think Memphis is this notion that Memphis doesn't have enough money to compete. I don't buy it for a second. Again, I've had conversations with people who should know, who've led me to believe that under a certain set of circumstances, that's the other part of this. It's like, the amount of money that Memphis might have to play with from an NIL standpoint might not necessarily be the same with PJ Haggerty or without PJ Haggerty. Like, there might be a scenario, and this is just my gut telling me this, there might be a scenario where there's a certain amount of money that somebody or some entity is willing
if
to...
you get PJ.
Correct. A proven commodity like PJ Haggerty, a second-team All-American,
right.
who that they might not be willing to spend that on for somebody who's not a second-team All-American. So, there's a lot of gray area, a lot of moving parts. Everything's very fluid.
Yeah.
I think if they keep PJ Haggerty, and especially if they keep Dane Danger, I think that Memphis has the ability to be in that, second tier.
Okay. It is, as long as you mentioned Dane Danger, when Pete Thamel broke the news about Haggerty going into the portal, he also said Dane Danger was too. That apparently was not the case, because he immediately tweeted out, "That's wrong, I'm staying." And there are people that are pretty sure, really, that he's going to get that extra year, because there's a new wrinkle in this whole story. And I know you talked to his mother. Explain.
Yeah, so I talked to Dane's mom last night for about 30 minutes. It was a really, really good conversation. I wrote a story about it. It's up at commercialappeal.com. I think everybody should read it. But basically the way she explained it to me is that it's not, as everybody knows, Dane, his career started at Baylor in 2020, but he was not eligible to compete that season. And so he did not qualify for the COVID year. That's the year that everybody who was eligible got an extra year for because of COVID. He did not qualify for it because he was not eligible to play. He was eligible to practice. He broke his foot. Because he was not eligible to play, he was not eligible to receive a medical red shirt. So the next year, he stays at Baylor. The next year, he plays in 3 games, 9 minutes. He plays in 9 total minutes before he decides to transfer to Illinois, where he sat out the rest of the year. Now, what Dane's mother told me is they're not trying to get a waiver for the first year. She's saying that the reason he played only 3 games and only 9 minutes his second season is because the foot injury that he had the season before, he was still dealing with it. He had not completely gotten over it. And so what they're contending, and they've got doctors involved and medical people and coaches, and they've hired an attorney. So what they're doing is saying that the injury is what the lingering effects of the injury is what kept him.
So that is the red shirt year thereafter, a medical red shirt, not for the year that he would get for COVID, but for the next year when he played 3 games.
Right. Now, the sticking point is the injury did not occur in that second season. It occurred the season before in practice.
Right.
And so I don't know how the NCAA is going to view that. Like, you could have all the doctors and medical people you want saying that he could not play because he was still dealing with an injury from the season before, but I don't know how the NCAA is going to view that. They don't talk about these sort of things. But I've seen stranger things happen.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a new wrinkle. It's absolutely a new wrinkle. And
yeah.
I think, based on what you've just told me, there's a much better chance than I had originally thought. I got to ask you, out of Quante Berry, Julius Thadford, Ashton Hardaway, Zach Davis, I'll even throw Dante Harris and Buna Kibe in there, which is the player or two that excites you the most, that if you get Danger and Haggerty back, you think you got a solid big 3?
I'm high on Julius Thadford, whose nickname is King. He only played in 18 games last season at Western Kentucky as a true freshman, but scored like 12.5 points a game, shot 37% from 3, I think he had like 3.5 rebounds a game, something like that. And again, we're talking about a true freshman. He only played in 18 games. He scored 18 against Kentucky. He scored 11 against Mississippi State, 11 against Wichita State. I think he scored something like 14 against Michigan. So it's like he was already having success. He was having really nice success right away. So you would think before he got hurt that as the season progressed and the competition got easier, his numbers might, even improve. So I'm really high on him. He's coming back to Memphis. He sounds like he's a Memphis guy through and through.
All right.
Penny's type of player, that type of thing. So I'm high on him, and I think the Zach Davis acquisition has a chance to be a sneaky good one.
Well, that's good. All right, last thing, 10 seconds. Out of these names who visited, Sincere Parker, Aaron Bradshaw, the big 7-footer, Chris Parker, and Doug McDaniels, the point guard, who will be a Memphis Tiger?
So Doug McDaniel hasn't visited yet, but I expect him to eventually visit Memphis. I would say, in order, I would say Aaron Bradshaw, then Doug McDaniel. I think those two are the most likely, with Sincere Parker kind of right there.
And Bradshaw's the big that started at Kentucky, played at Ohio State. Wow, that would be definitely a big, literally, get. As always, my friend, I appreciate you. We'll talk next Friday. We'll know a little bit more.
Thanks, Wolo.
There we go. There's Jason Muggs from the Commercial Appeal. He's brought to you by Southern Security. Are you getting the lowest possible rate on your mortgage? At Southern Security, they offer the low rates, the flexible terms, no PMI, and the best of unbeatable service. You can refinance your current mortgage with the Mid-South's best mortgage lender. For more info, it's simple. You go online at southernsecurity.org or call a team member at 901-452-7900. Southern Security is an equal housing lender, and they are proud supporters of the U of M and 901 Women. Southern Security's your home team credit union, voted the best the last 6 years, and they're federally insured by NCUA. Have a great Good Friday and a peaceful and good Easter as well. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Johnny Radio is right around the corner.
Case IH is a proud supporter of the Mississippi Farm Bureau.